Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to IAAO Membership Madness. Excited to be here to host you for this 2024 tournament. For those who might not be aware, this is one of our favorite things to do for everybody. It's really a fun way just to celebrate people bringing in new members, celebrating those new members, and just a fun way to get together and give away some fun prizes. So if you're not familiar, we're going to be doing a bracket of 64 individuals. Either someone who is new to the association or referred a new member. We're going to be going down matchup by matchup with this trusty coin flip and deciding who moves on for a chance to win a free IAAO self-study and a IAAO bundle of swag. I got this awesome sweatshirt here from there, so a lot of fun options and some awesome giveaways. So what we're gonna do now is just go region by region. We're gonna bring up the first region here on your screen, and we're gonna, without further ado, just gonna start flipping through these and moving right along. We know many of you are joining us from either just a break or a lunch break, so we're gonna fly through this. I'm excited to have you guys join us, so without further ado, let's kick things off. All right, and on your screen now, you should see the Region 1 bracket. And like I mentioned, we're just gonna fly through this. It's coin flip by coin flip. We're gonna start at the bottom, work our way all the way through this region before moving on to another. So without further ado, we have Alanush and Allison. First coin flip here, and we have Allison moving on. Next up, we have Margie versus Wendy. And we have Margie taking that one. All right, next up we have Tim versus Vanessa. And here we have Vanessa. And next up we have Maribel and Sean. And Sean takes that. Next up we have Benjamin versus Raquel. And we have Raquel winning that. Next matchup here is Anthony versus Robert. And we have Anthony winning. Next up we have Paul versus Karen. And looks like we have Karen taking that one. And the first round here, we have Amy versus Jocelyn. And we have Jocelyn moving on here. So back to the top of our bracket, we have Allison versus Margie. And Allison will take that one. And next up we have Vanessa versus Sean. And it will be Sean. Next up here we have Raquel versus Anthony. And Anthony takes that one. And next up we have Karen versus Jocelyn. And looks like we have Jocelyn. All right, moving right along, we have Allison now facing off against Sean. And Sean takes that one. And to face Sean in the final of Region 1, we have Anthony versus Jocelyn. And it'll be Jocelyn. All right, moving on here to the final matchup of Region 1, we have Sean versus Jocelyn. And winning Region 1, we have Sean. Congratulations, Sean. You have moved on as the winner of Region 1. And without further ado, we're gonna move right along to Region 2. So let's get that pulled up here. All right, and on your screen here, you now should see Region 2. And same process here, we're gonna just keep on moving. We have Mariella versus Donna. And Mariella moves on there. Next up, we have Landon versus Chad. And we have Chad. Next up, we have Holly versus Shale. And we have Holly winning that. Next up, we have Sucheta versus Deanna. And we have Deanna moving on. Next up, we have Robert versus Antoinette. And Robert wins that matchup. Next up, we have Amber versus Chesney. And we have Chesney taking that. Next up, we have Derek versus Julia. And looks like we have Derek winning that. And next up, we have Steven versus Jennifer. And Steven's gonna win that matchup. All right, back to the top of the bracket here. We have Mariella and Chad. And Mariella moving on. Next up, we have Holly versus Deanna. All right, it looks like we got Deanna taking that one. Next up, we have Robert versus Chesney. And looks like Robert. And next up, Derek versus Steven. And Steven will win that matchup. All right, moving right along here, back to the top of the bracket, we have Mariella versus Deanna. And Deanna wins that. And to face Deanna in the Region 2 final is Robert versus Steven. And it'll be Steven. All right, here. So we have our final matchup of Region 2. And we have a flip here to see who wins, Deanna versus Steven. And Steven takes Region 2. Congratulations, Steven. You have won Region 2 and moved into the last 4 individuals and moving right along, keeping our good pace going, good flips, and don't want to mess anything up here. But we're going to move on to Region 3, and we're going to go ahead and bring that up on the screen here. All right, and on your screen now you should see the Region 3 bracket. We're going to keep moving along with our first matchup of Region 3 with Kirk versus Patrick. And it's going to be Patrick. Next up, we have Dale versus Alexis. And we have Dale winning that matchup. Next up, we have Haley versus Cherish. And Haley wins that. And next up, we have Dan versus Darcy. And Darcy wins that matchup there. Moving right along, we have Elizabeth versus Brittany. And Brittany wins that. Next up, James versus Stanley. And James wins that matchup. Here we have Shonda versus Brett. And Brett wins that matchup. And finally, here we have Elena versus Jalen. And Elena wins that matchup. All right, moving to the top of the bracket here. Next round, we have Patrick versus Dale. And we have Dale winning that matchup. Next up here, we have Haley versus Darcy. And we have Haley winning that. Moving right along here, we have Brittany versus James. And Brittany moving on. Next up, we have Brett versus Elena. And Elena takes that. All right, flying through Region 3 here. Next up, we have Dale versus Haley. And Dale wins that matchup. And here we have Brittany versus Elena. And Elena moving into the Region 3 final. That's awesome. All right, here we go here for the Region 3 final. We have Dale versus Elena. And Dale winning Region 3. Congratulations, Dale. We have gone through 3 brackets if you're just joining us, and we're going to move on right along to our 4th one. So without further ado, let's get that pulled up here on the screen for you. All right, you should be seeing Region 4 here. We're just going to start at the top again and keep things moving along. So without further ado, we have Nathan versus Marissa. And Marissa moving on. Next up, we have Joseph versus Gabe. And we have Gabe winning that. Next up, Dave versus James. Looks like James will win that one. Isaiah versus Brandon. Here we have Brandon. Next up, we have Kendra versus Brian. And Kendra will win that matchup. We have Ava versus Godfrey. And Ava wins that. Moving right along here, we have Jessica versus Danko. And Jessica wins that matchup. Next up here, we have Joseph and Julian in the final matchup of Region 4, Round 1. And we have Julian taking that one. All right, back to the top of the bracket, we have Marissa versus Gabe. And Marissa edges that one out in a close one. Next up, we have James versus Brandon. James pulls ahead there. Next up, we have Kendra versus Ava. And Ava wins that. Next up, Jessica versus Julian. And Jessica wins that matchup. All right, almost finished with Region 4 here. Let's go on to our matchup with Marissa versus James. And looks like we have Marissa moving on to the final of Region 4. And to join Marissa, we have Ava versus Jessica. And Jessica takes that. So in our final matchup of Region 4, we have Marissa versus Jessica. And let's get the trusty coin flip going. And it looks like Jessica will win Region 4. Congratulations, Jessica. All right, well, without further ado, we're just gonna get our last four pulled up here, our four finalists, if you will, on the screen so you can check those out. All right, and you can see the winners of each of our regions here on the screen. All four individuals are competing for a chance to win a free IAAO self-study as well as a bundle of IAAO swag. So some really awesome stuff in the IAAO store. Really excited to be doing this, and it's a lot of fun, and we just want to thank everybody for referring these new members. For any of you who might be the people who are just joining us as a new member, we're so excited to have you. Just a fun way to kick things off and give away some fun prizes, especially this time of year, just starting out the year strong. So again, we all know you're here to see who the champion is. I know Sean, Steven, Dale, and Jessica are watching this and really hoping that their name moves on. So they prepared all year for this, worked really hard, and let's get that. I'll put all that hard work into this next trusty coin flip. So without further ado, here we go. Our first matchup here in the semifinals is Sean versus Steven. And Steven takes that one. Whew, that was a close one. Really, really well fought. But we're gonna be moving on here as Steven heads to the final. And to face Steven in the final will be either Dale or Jessica. And Jessica just barely edges out Dale there. Really close call. But we have our final matchup here of Steven Freeman versus Jessica Gray. And the moment you've all been waiting for, let's flip that coin. All right, and it looks like Steven is our winner for the 2024 Membership Madness. Congratulations, Steven. What a win, what a win. Super exciting way to kick off 2024 with our Membership Madness tournament. Really want to thank everyone, not just involved in our bracket, but just all that participate every year that we've done this. The constant referrals, people who believe in the association and really want to see other people join and participate. We couldn't do it without you. We really wanted to just do something fun like this to celebrate all the hard work you all put in bringing in those new members, and excited to welcome anyone who is new and whose name is on this bracket because they just recently joined. So we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Steven, we will be in touch with your prize. And thank you all for joining us for another awesome, super fun year of Membership Madness. Take care.